Today I'm doing a thrift store versus Dollar Tree Christmas decor challenge. I'll be crafting similar decor from each and giving them a fun Christmas makeover, and we'll see which version turns out better. So let's get started. Okay, for the first challenge, I'll be doing a frame makeover. I found the perfect frame at the thrift store. It was about $3. They have so many unique frames, and I'm mainly focusing on the structure and texture. I chose this gorgeous ornate frame with lots of intricate details and a nice weight to it. It's quite heavy, which I really like. I'm going to give it a gold finish, which is perfect for Christmas, using Rub & Buff's wax metallic finish in the shade Gold Leaf. So first I turn the frame over and carefully remove the backing board and glass. To apply the wax, I'm following the instructions, putting on some gloves, and making sure I'm in a well-ventilated area. I'm using my fingers to rub it on, but you could also use a soft cloth if you prefer. A little goes a long way with this wax, as you can see here. It goes on opaquely and it gives off a nice smooth finish. And the more that you rub it in and buff it in, the more shiny and glossy it gets. One thing I really love about this wax is how easily it glides on. Now, I'm using a small brush to get into all those little details, especially in the corners and edges. The texture of the frame really pops with the gold, and it's starting to look so beautiful already. I'll be adding some Christmas-themed prints. I have this pack of decorative scrapbook paper. This one's from Hobby Lobby, and I really love this beautiful dark Christmas print. I thought it was just perfect against the gold. And so I just trimmed that to fit, and I placed that back in the frame. You can definitely place any print you prefer. You can also check out some of Dollar Tree's Christmas cards or their gift bags. They have really beautiful patterns as well. So this one is done. It was such a quick and easy makeover, and wow, what a transformation. For part 2 of the frame challenge, I picked up a couple of frames from Dollar Tree, so a total of $2.50 for the frames. I was hoping to find one with some nice decorative details, but there really wasn't much to choose from, at least not on the day that I went. But I did get this white 4x6-inch frame with some beaded detailing on the outer edge, as well as this classically simple white 8x10, and I'll be gluing these two together. So first, I'm removing the backing board and the glass. The frames are plastic, and I'm removing the black metal tabs on the larger frame, and I just used some pliers to pull those out. Since the frames were lacking in some details, I decided to use Dollar Tree's puffy metallic stickers. I'll be using the corner pieces and gluing them right in the corners of the beaded frame. So I'm just really pressing that on there. Now once I did get them all on there, a couple of them did start lifting in some areas. The surface isn't completely flat. There is a little lift. So I did go back and apply a little bit of E6000 on the edges of the sticker on some of them. But I love using these stickers. It's a really nice hack. It definitely elevates the frame and gives it more of a vintage look. I'll be gluing the smaller frame on top of the larger, and it just barely fits right on top. But just to make sure that the frames don't slide around while the glue is drying, I'm gluing down some blocks along the back corner of the smaller frame. With the smaller frame still face down, I apply some E6000 along the edge. And then I place the larger frame facing downward on top of the smaller frame. And it just about fits. Now you can leave it as is. It looks gorgeous just like that. The stickers really don't look like stickers at all, and it adds such a beautiful subtle detail. Just pop in some Christmas prints and it's ready to go. So continuing on, I'm going to apply Rub & Buff in the shade Gold Leaf to the frame to give it a rich gold finish. So with the glove, I'm applying a small amount on my finger and buffing that on the frame as well as on the decorative stickers. Now another quick option, if you don't want to use Rub & Buff, you can also spray paint it a nice gold metallic color. So I just keep rubbing in the gold wax, and the more that you buff that in, the more shine you get. To reach all those intricate detailed areas, I use a small brush, which really helps work that wax into every nook and cranny. The brush makes it easy to apply the wax in those hard to reach spots where my fingers might miss. Once it's completely dry, I decided to apply a bit of antique wax to add more depth and dimension to the piece. It was looking a bit flat, so I apply a good amount of the antique wax on top of the decorative stickers, along the beads, and on the corners, and just here and there. I really like how the antique wax settles nicely into the grooves and details. And then I'm just taking a little cloth and buffing down the wax. If I take out too much, I just apply more of the wax and let that sit for a bit and then gently wipe it down. I'm also using a little sponge brush, and that really helps in blending the antique wax nicely. Once it dries, I place a Christmas print in the frame, and this one is done. So here are the two versions. They're both beautiful, but I'm gonna go with the thrift store version on this one, but let me know which one you like the best. Today's video is sponsored by FlexiSpot, and I'm unboxing and setting up their oversized manual swivel rocker recliner, the XRC5. This thing is seriously comfy, and it has a really nice cozy look to it that'll fit right in any room. So here's the base. It's solid, which is perfect since this recliner has that 360-degree swivel and a rocking feature. Now I'm just attaching the armrest. They're soft and wide, so you have plenty of space to just sink in and relax. The extra padding on the armrest and lower back just makes it super comfy. Next up, the backrest. This thing is huge and super plush. Okay, last step here is connecting these cords, and then we're ready to go. Setup is super quick and no tools needed. You can fully recline by simply pulling the handle and leaning back. It swivels a full 360 degrees for flexibility, and the smooth rocking motion is so relaxing. Plus, it's got built-in massage and heating functions, which take comfort to the next level. Seriously, this recliner just feels amazing. It's super cozy, and it looks great too. For more info, check out the link below and use my exclusive code XRC530 and get $30 off plus free shipping. Let's make 2024 your year of ultimate comfort with the FlexiSpot XRC5. Thank you, FlexiSpot, for sponsoring today's video. For the next round of my Thrift Store versus Dollar Tree challenge, I'm tackling canvases. So at the thrift store, I found this white stretch canvas for about $2, and it was 11 by 14 inch in size, which is larger than Dollar Tree's. It was also new and unopened, which was even better. Now, I wanted to remove the canvas from the wood frame that it was attached to and reverse it, and so I'm just using a heavy-duty staple remover to separate them. And that makes it really easy to pry out the staples, and if it didn't pop out completely, I used some pliers to pull it out. Now you can also remove the canvas just by getting a utility knife and slicing around the staples, leaving that staple intact. Now I was a little disappointed to see some staples on the front corners, but these staples were so deep that I was able to cover it up with some spackle. I'm mixing a couple neutral colors together from apple barrel, khaki, and territorial beige. And I just brushed that on the wood frame. The color goes on beautifully. It's such a warm, earthy tone. It also covered up that spackled area nicely. I make sure to cover every edge of the corner for a smooth, even finish, but I do leave the back unpainted. This shade really brings out that natural texture of the wood, giving it a soft, rustic look that's just perfect for this cozy Christmas decor. I'm going to lightly distress the frame and sand the edges and a few areas of the surface, just very lightly, and I really like how that turned out. Now there are two sides of the canvas I could use for the background of the frame. One side was white and the other was a really pretty linen color. Both would work perfectly for what I had planned, but I decided to go with the white because I thought that would be a nice contrast against the wood. I did trim the canvas down to fit, and I'm going to apply a little bit of glue to the back of the frame. And I place the canvas down, pressing down the edges while also stretching and smoothing it out. I'm also going to staple down the canvas just to secure it even more because I'm going to be placing a wreath on the canvas. I got this really pretty flocked rosemary wreath from Hobby Lobby. A lot of their Christmas supplies are 50% off, and I believe this wreath was about $2.99 when I got it, which is a really good deal. I'll be using this little hook to attach the wreath to the canvas. I got this at Dollar Tree and it came in a pack. I'm going to stick the hook on the wreath, and I just use a drop of hot glue to hold it in place. Next, I apply some E6000 and a little bit of hot glue to the back of the hook. I also make sure to peel off that backing paper since there is adhesive on the hook. Then I carefully center and press it onto the canvas. You can add a hanger in the back, but I'm going to lean this one against a wall, and this one is done. For part 2 of the canvas challenge, I headed to Dollar Tree in search of their white stretch canvas, but unfortunately on that day, they only had the black one, so that's what I got. So I'm going to separate the canvas from the wood frame, so I remove the staples on the back. Now when I removed the canvas, there were some chips and cracks on the wood. It wasn't perfect, but I figured it just added to the rustic charm of the frame. I decided to switch the black canvas out with some popsicle sticks. And I'm using 6 large ones, and I usually get these at Walmart. They're the giant 10-inch ones. So I mark, measure, and trim the popsicle sticks down. I'll be gluing it on the back of the wood frame. So I cut it short enough just so that you can't see it from the front, but long enough to glue the ends on the frame. Next, I'm going to stain the wood frame with this gel stain from Decor Art in the shade Walnut. So I'm just applying the stain. I'm using a piece of cloth, and it goes on beautifully. The stain is a beautiful deep brown shade with a warm undertone. To get in the corners, I use a little brush and then I wipe it down. Next, I'm going to paint the popsicle sticks white, but first I'll do a quick wipe with a gel stain. I want a bit of that wood grain to show through the white, and the stain will add a nice contrast since the wood is naturally light. I'm going to dry brush some of that white paint over the stained popsicle sticks to give it a distressed, weathered look. So after the stain dries, I dip just the tip of my brush into the white paint. Now if there's too much, I make sure to dab it out. So with a light touch, I drag the brush across each stick, making sure some of that stained wood still shows through. This creates a rustic, weathered look without needing to sand anything down. The nice thing about dry brushing is that you can easily adjust the effect. There's really no wrong way to do it, and each one ends up with its own unique texture. Now that the paint and stain have fully dried, it's time to start attaching the popsicle sticks to the back of the frame. So I begin by laying out the popsicle sticks to get the spacing just right, arranging them so they're evenly spread across the back of the frame. Once I'm happy with the layout, I apply a small dot of hot glue to each end of the stick, and I press that down firmly. I work my way across, just gluing each stick down carefully so that they are aligned and secure. Once everything is glued in place, you can stain the rest of the back of the frame to match the front for a more cohesive look. Now that's done, I'm going to be placing a little wreath in the front. I'll be using this little grapevine wreath and some snowy pine greenery that I pulled out from a Dollar Tree bouquet. So first I'm going to glue the 2 pine picks together, one a little higher than the other, and I do 2 of those. And then I just tuck the ends in the wreath opposite each other. You can also secure it a bit more with some hot glue. And I'm going to add some more embellishments to the wreath. I'll be placing these 3 white pine cones in the center, and I'm going to kind of point them downward a bit because right above that I'll be placing a velvet bow. I also added a few more pines on each side just to make it look a little more full. I apply a little bit of hot glue on the back and I place that in the center of the frame, and this one's done. Let me know which one you like better. I definitely love the size of the first one, but I really love the wood background and the little wreath on that Dollar Tree wood frame. We're moving on to vases. I found this super cute $3 ceramic vase with a lid at the thrift store, and it immediately caught my eye. I knew it would be perfect for what I had in mind. After washing the vase, I'm going to spray it with white primer, which will help the paint that I'm going to apply later stick better. I always end up loving how things look with a fresh coat of paint. So you can take any thrifted vase, spray paint it, and it's good to go. However, I'm going to give this one a rustic makeover. I want to add some texture, and so I'm just going to mix in some baking soda to some paint. I'm using white acrylic paint, but you can use any color you like. I want it to be thick, so I do add quite a bit of baking soda, but if you don't like that, you can always go lighter. So I'm just brushing that on the vase. Initially, I only wanted to apply a light coat here and there, and then go a little heavier in some areas, just to add some depth and texture. But as I started applying it, I really liked how it was turning out, so I decided to go ahead and give it a full coat all over. It just seemed to look even better, and yeah, I really liked how it was looking. But of course, you can totally customize it however you like. Whether you prefer a lot of texture or a more solid finish, it's all about what you prefer. I brought out some of my favorite neutral paints that I already had, and I'm applying it with a damp piece of cloth. You can also use paper towel, that also works really well. And I'm just pouncing the paint onto the vase. I have a light neutral and a dark neutral, and I'm just going back and forth. And really, you can't go wrong here. As long as your cloth or your paper towel is damp, it's going to blend really well. So I started off using light neutrals. I think that was my original plan, just to keep it light, and you certainly can. You can definitely stop here, and it's perfect. But of course, I never really stick to what I usually originally have in mind. Once I get started, it always evolves into something else, usually something better. And so as I started adding in a few darker shades, I was just going to add a teeny bit and blend it out, but I actually ended up loving it all over. And so I brought out some darker colors like Cafe Noir from Hello Hobby. And I just blended that all over with a damp cloth. I also make sure to do the same thing on the lid. So after the dark, I went in with a lighter color linen from Faux, and that made it look even more rustic and it gave it more dimension. Then I let that dry and then I seal it with a spray sealer. And I drop in a Christmas greenery, and this one is all done. So now let's move on to the Dollar Tree version, and I'm going with this glass flower vase. It's almost similar to the thrift store one, although it doesn't have a lid, and it's a bit taller and elongated. After giving it a really good cleaning, I'm spraying it with primer, and that will help the paint that I'll be applying stick better. I want to add some texture to the vase, so I'm mixing a bit of baking soda into some white acrylic paint. The baking soda adds a grainy texture, giving the vase a bit of that stone-like feel. And to add even more dimension, I'm dabbing the paint with a damp paper towel, which makes the texture pop even more. I'm mixing some neutral colors until I get this beautiful earthy taupe shade I like. Then I take a damp paper towel and dab the paint onto the vase. This technique creates such natural-looking textures and patterns. I also use a wiping motion with a paper towel to apply the paint, and that creates a subtle rustic wash effect. And so I just vary the application. Now just make sure that the paper towel is damp, because that really helps blend everything together naturally. It's honestly foolproof. I could stop here and it really looks good already, but I want to deepen the color similar to the thrift store version, and so I add some darker neutrals to the vase. Then for a little contrast, I dab in some lighter shades like Folk Art's Linen. You can also add some white to lighten any neutral color, and that just gives it that rustic stone finish. So this is a fun and simple hack to give any vase a rustic makeover. Super easy, and it looks amazing. Once it dries, I spray a matte sealer, and I drop in a Christmas stem, and this one's done. I really love how they both turned out, and they each have their own charm. But if I had to choose, I think I'm leaning towards the Dollar Tree version just a bit, but let me know what you think. Hey, thank you so much for watching. If you liked today's video, let me know by giving it a thumbs up. Subscribe if you haven't already, and don't forget to check out FlexiSpot in the description box below. Until next time, bye!